AITA for telling my mom Santa doesn't reward ungrateful people? My name is Nicole. I am 32 years old, and I work as a software engineer for a large tech company. I live in Phoenix, Arizona. I make a solid six-figure salary, one of those life-changing incomes if you know how to manage it. I earn more than most people my age, and in theory I should feel lucky all the time. But sometimes money does not give you peace. Sometimes it even feels like it puts a label on your forehead. In my house, that word was always responsible. My parents are over 70 now. They retired about 5 years ago. My dad worked in construction his whole life. My mom was an office administrator. They are not doing badly, but their retirement and Social Security do not stretch as far as they used to. And then there is my older sister, Rachel. Rachel is 36 and is married to Derek. They have 2 kids, 15-year-old Connor and 13-year-old Haley. And here comes the part that is hardest for me to say because it still makes me angry. My family has always been short on money, always. And when their bills pile up, I am the solution. It all started little by little. When I got my full-time job 6 years ago, my mom would speak to me with that soft voice she uses when she wants something. "Nicole, honey, we are a little tight this month. Can you help me with the utility bill?" And of course I said yes. They are my parents. They raised me, fed me, took care of me. When I was a child I felt it was the right thing to do, but it did not stop there. Then it was the groceries, then my dad's medication, then the car insurance, then something broke down, then something else came up, and then Rachel started asking too. First it was, Derek's SUV desperately needs new tires and we do not have the money right now. Then, Connor wants to take a coding workshop, but it costs around $800. It was always something, always urgent, always with that idea of, if you do not do it, it cannot be done. The worst part is that it only went one way. When I needed something, suddenly everyone was busy, broke, having problems, dealing with 1,000 things. I understood that all at once about 8 months ago when I bought my condo. I had been saving for years. I wanted to get out of the small rental where I lived and finally have something of my own. Moving day overwhelmed me, and on top of that I had too much stuff. I called Rachel. "Hey, can Derek help me for a few hours on Saturday? Just to load and unload things while the moving truck arrives." I spoke directly with Derek and he answered perfectly normally. "Yeah, sure, we will see." 2 days before, Rachel called me. "Nicole, about Saturday. Derek is not going to be able to help you." "What happened? Is he sick?" "No, he is fine, but we talked about it and decided that you need to solve your own problems by yourself. You can hire someone or figure it out. Derek and I have our family." And that was it. She hung up on me. I ended up paying a professional moving company and an extra service. It was almost $500 that I had not budgeted for, but I did not make a scene. I did not call them to complain. I did exactly what they told me. I solved it. But that conversation stuck with me. Even so, I kept helping them. Every month something new came up. My mom needed money for groceries. My dad's medication had gone up, according to them. Rachel's car broke down again. Connor needed new soccer cleats. Haley wanted a laptop for school. Always something, always my responsibility, as if I were the only adult on the planet. In late October, I decided to go to my parents' house for dinner. I had not seen them for weeks and thought it would be nice to spend some time with them. I left in the afternoon to avoid getting too stuck in traffic, and even then I hit a lot of it on the freeway. When I arrived, everyone was there. Rachel, Derek, Connor, and Haley. Already sitting at the table. My mom had prepared that very family-style meal. Pot roast, mashed potatoes, green beans, and fresh rolls. But something felt off from the beginning. My mom spent half the dinner talking to Rachel about Haley's school and Connor's soccer games. She asked Rachel about her work, Derek's job, what they were planning for December. I was just there eating, listening, smiling when I had to. And my mom did not ask me a single question. Not one. Not about work, not about the condo, nothing. Then my dad coughed a little cough and my mom turned to look at him. He gave her a look back as if saying, "Now." My mom put down her fork and looked at me with a big smile, but one of those that does not reach the eyes. "Nicole, honey, we have all been talking and decided that we need to buy a vacation home, so the family can relax together." I blinked. "A what?" "A vacation home up near Sedona to escape on weekends, so your dad and I can be more relaxed, And so the kids have space when they come over. Fresh air, a yard, something nice. I looked around. Rachel was nodding. Derek too. The kids were even smiling as if they had been promised an amusement park. I was the only one who did not know anything about it. Mom, I do not know if right now is a good time for that, I said. Do you remember the issue with the foundation? Her smile tightened. What about it? The crack. The big crack that appeared. You called the structural engineer and he said it had to be reinforced right away, that it was urgent. Should not you fix this house before thinking about another one? My mom waved her hand dismissively. That is an exaggeration. That crack is staying right there. Your dad and I have to think about our quality of life. It is our turn. I shifted in my chair, uncomfortable. Okay. But where are you planning to get the money for another house? My mom looked at me as if I were playing dumb. From you, Nicole. You are the only one who can. I froze. From me? Yes, honey. You can buy it. We already saw a perfect option. It costs a little over $400,000. With the down payment you would put down, the mortgage would be low. The monthly payment is fine. It is not that much. It is not that much. She said it as if she were talking about paying a utility bill. I looked at everyone again. My dad was watching me as if waiting for me to say, sure. Rachel already had her arms crossed with that, do not make a scene face. Derek was nodding, even the kids were staring at me. Mom, I cannot buy you a house, I said slowly. I have my own mortgage. My mom leaned toward me as if to box me in with her gaze. You would be left with a monthly payment of around $2,000. You will not even feel it with what you make. Around $2,000 in addition to my own mortgage, on top of my expenses, on top of my life. No, I said this time without softening it. I am not going to do it. The atmosphere turned ice cold. My mom's face changed. There was no more smile. Well, she said coldly, now we see where you stand. We thought we could count on our daughter, my dad added, disappointed in the most theatrical way possible. How sad, Nicole. I looked at them. They were all watching me as if I had just committed an unforgivable sin. There was no point in continuing. I think I am going to go, I said quietly. Yes, that is best, my mom answered. No one stood up to say goodbye. No one walked me to the door. I drove back to my condo with a horrible feeling, as if I had lost my family over something they never should have asked me for. Several weeks passed after that dinner. Throughout November, my phone stayed silent. No calls from my mom asking for grocery money. No texts from my dad about medications. No voice messages from Rachel with emergencies. The weirdest part was that Rachel did not ask me for money, not even once. With her, that was almost impossible. Before, she would call me at least twice a month, but nothing. Total silence. In late November, they had a family gathering, one of those to see each other before December. I was not invited. I found out through a photo Rachel posted on social media. I stayed in my condo. I ordered takeout and watched movies. A part of me kept waiting for the phone to ring, for my mom to call and say it had all been foolishness. It did not ring. When Christmas approached, I started to feel a foolish hope. I thought maybe they had reflected on things. Christmas had always been important in my house. They could not allow a fight like that to ruin Christmas. I went shopping and bought gifts for everyone. Good gifts, the kind that actually hurt your wallet a little. I bought my dad a new tablet because his kept freezing and the battery did not last at all. For my mom, a beautiful soft sweater that I know she loves. For Rachel, an expensive perfume she had been saying she wanted for months. For Derek, a watch. For Connor, a gaming headset. For Haley, a jewelry box she had mentioned once. I spent over $2,000, much more than I usually spent. I did it because I wanted to fix things even if the expense hurt me on the inside. I wanted to make it clear that I did love my family, that I did want to be there, that the fact that I did not buy them a house did not mean I did not care about them. A week before Christmas, I gathered my courage and called my mom. My heart raced as soon as I heard the ringing. Hi, Mom. It is Nicole. Hi, Nicole. Her voice was neutral, neither affectionate nor angry, as if it were just any call. I wanted to know if you are hosting Christmas there like always. There was a pause. Yes, she finally said. Of course you are coming. This is your house. I let out a breath as if I had been drowning. It was not the warmest conversation, but at least it was an invitation. To me, that was already an open door. On the afternoon of the 24th, I loaded the car with the gifts and left. I headed out with plenty of time, but I still hit some heavy traffic on the freeway. When I arrived, I saw Rachel's car parked and my hands trembled a little. I walked in and everyone was there. The smell of Christmas food filled the house: glazed ham, stuffing, cranberry sauce, and apple salad. They acted as if nothing had happened, as if those weeks of silence had never occurred. I left my gifts under the tree. There were already some there, but it was obvious that I had brought the most. We ate dinner, and for the first time in months, everything felt normal. My dad asked me about work. Rachel told me about one of Haley's activities. Derek even seemed to be in a good mood. We laughed. No one mentioned the vacation home. No one demanded anything of me. The night was so peaceful that when my mom asked if I wanted to sleep over in my old room, I said yes. It felt nice to be back in the place where I grew up. It felt like everything was going to go back to normal. The next day, the 25th, I woke up excited for the first time in a long time. We all gathered in our pajamas by the tree, just like when Rachel and I were girls. They started opening gifts and saying thank you. I just watched their faces, happy to see them happy, until something suddenly dawned on me. They had already opened everything. Everyone had things in their hands, and I had not opened anything. I peeked under the tree. There was not a single package left with my name on it. I turned around confused. And my gift? The room fell silent. Everyone stayed still, looked at each other, and then they laughed. My mom was the first, still with a laugh caught in her throat. Santa does not bring gifts to ungrateful people. I felt like I had been punched in the stomach. What? Rachel chimed in, smiling as if she were enjoying it. You brought this on yourself, Nicole. When the family needed you, you refused to help. My dad nodded seriously. We gave you everything, we raised you, and when we asked you for support, you turned your back on us. Ungrateful people do not receive gifts. I stood there in my pajamas, surrounded by the expensive gifts I had bought them, listening to them explain to me why I did not deserve even a card or the tiniest gesture. My face burned, my eyes welled up, but I did not cry right then because in that moment I understood that nothing I said mattered anymore. I could list every bill I paid, every emergency I solved, every time I came running when they called. To them, I was the bad guy, the one who did not buy them a house. Okay, I said quietly. I got up and went to my room. I packed my things without making a sound. I came down with my bag and no one looked me in the eyes. No one said goodbye. I walked out of that house on Christmas morning and decided something that changed my life. No more. I was no longer going to be their safety net. I was no longer going to be their fixer. I was no longer going to live in fear of the next phone call. For the first time since I started working, I stopped sending them money. Finally, my salary stayed with me. I started seeing my account grow month by month and it felt strange, as if I were realizing something that had always been there. I started paying more toward my mortgage. Instead of paying the minimum, I made extra payments each month, and I realized that if I kept at it, I could pay it off much earlier than normal. And I also started doing things for myself. I bought a new couch, fixed up details around the condo that I had been putting off, and in January I booked a trip for April, a real vacation, not an improvised weekend, but something I was truly excited about. The weirdest thing was the absence. Rachel, who used to reach out at least twice a month, did not call me even once. My mom sent no messages, my dad, nothing. It was as if I did not exist once I stopped being useful. Part of me hoped it would stay that way forever, but I knew it would not. People like that do not change, they just hold back until their backs are against the wall. The call came in late March, almost 3 months after Christmas. I was at work, focused on a project, when I saw my mom's name on the screen. For a second I thought about not answering, but I answered out of curiosity. "Hello, Nicole," she said in a high-pitched, agitated voice. "Thank God you answered. What is wrong?" "It is the house. The foundation is collapsing." I leaned back in my chair. The foundation. The thing I had told them about months ago. The thing they ignored because the vacation home was more important. What happened? The crack got worse. There is a huge hole. Everything is cracking. They came out for an emergency. The inspector gave us a report, and said the house is no longer safe to live in. I heard my dad yell something in the background. My mom answered him with rushed words. They told us that if it is not fixed right now, there could be a collapse. Even the city inspector recommended we not stay here. How much is it? I asked, even though I already knew. Between $80,000 and $100,000, Nicole. It is reinforcing, shoring it up, it is everything and we need it right now. There it was, the real reason for the call. Mom, I said, keeping my voice steady. Why are you talking to me about this? Because you have savings. We know you do. You have to help us. I felt a bitter laugh caught in my throat, but I did not laugh. After weeks of not speaking to me, after the humiliation, after the Santa comment. Mom, do you remember what you told me on Christmas? That was because we were hurt, Nicole, she said quickly. But this is different. No, I answered. It is not different. That day you made it clear what I am to you. Nicole, do not start. I am valuable when I pay, when I say no, you punish me. Please, my mom said, and for the first time her voice cracked. You cannot let us lose the house. I breathed slowly. Ask Santa to help you with the foundation. There was a brief, but incredibly heavy silence. And then my mom got angry. Nicole, do not speak to me like that. I am your mother. Yes, I said. You are my mother and you laughed right in my face. You called me ungrateful. You made me the only person without a gift in that room. Enough, she said impatiently. Get over it already. I am already over it, I replied. That is why I am not paying for it anymore. I hung up. My hands were shaking a little, but not from guilt, rather from adrenaline and relief. For the first time in my life, I had set a real boundary with my mom. She called back immediately. I did not answer. She called again. I did not answer. That day she called me several times. I did not answer a single call. Then the messages started. Nicole, answer please, it is more than money, it is family. Your dad's chest is tight from the stress. I deleted everything without replying. At night, back in my condo, I got a voice message from Rachel. I was about to delete it without listening, but I opened it. Nicole, it is me. Mom told me you hung up on her. I cannot believe you are being so cold. This is not about Christmas anymore. My parents could lose the house. The house where we grew up. Where our memories are. You are grown now, get over it. Family comes first. That family comes first. That was said to me by the same woman who, when I needed help moving, told me to figure it out by myself, that they had their own family. I poured a glass of wine, sat on my new couch and felt no guilt. They chose to humiliate me on Christmas. They decided I was only useful if I paid. I stopped paying. I thought it would end with that call. I thought they would finally understand. I was wrong. The next day, returning from work, the security guard called me on the intercom. Miss Nicole, there are 3 people downstairs who say they are your family. They are insisting. A knot formed in my stomach. I went down, saw them standing in the lobby, and knew they were coming to pressure me until they backed me into a corner. Nicole, my mom called out in a loud voice. We have to talk. I exhaled through my nose, tired. What are you doing here? We came to make you see reason, my dad said. Since you are not answering the phone. We went up and they came inside with me. I did not offer them a seat. They started looking around the condo as if they were calculating how much money I had. What do you want? I asked. They all started talking at the same time. My mom crying, my dad complaining, Rachel saying I was cruel. Stop, I said. One at a time. My mom approached with tears in her eyes. Nicole, honey, we are desperate. The inspector said that if it is not fixed soon, there could be a collapse, that we could be in danger. Then fix it, I replied. With what? My dad blurted out, raising his voice. We do not have a fixed income. Take out a loan, sell something, solve it. My dad pointed his chin at me, indignant. We raised you, we paid for your education, you owe us. I looked at him without blinking. I have been helping you for 6 years, a whole lot, and when I said no, you punished me. You laughed at me on Christmas. Rachel opened her mouth, but nothing came out at first. We were hurt, she finally said weakly. Hurt? No, I answered. You crossed the line. You called me ungrateful while I was surrounded by the gifts that I bought for you. There was a second of silence. I saw how they searched for another angle to push me. My mom changed her tone, wiped her face, and spoke to me as if she were stating the obvious. Nicole, you make very good money. It is nothing to you. You do not have children, you do not have anyone to support. You can do it. There it was, what they really thought. As if by not having children my life was worth less. As if my plans did not count. Yes, I said slowly. I make good money, and I am going to keep it. I have been solving your emergencies for years. When was the last time any of you asked me how I was? What I need? How I feel? You only look for me when you want money. My dad clenched his jaw. Rachel looked at me with rage. My mom was breathing fast, as if she were preparing another strike. We are not leaving until you agree to help us, my mom said. Then you are going to be standing here, I answered. Because I am not. They stayed for a moment waiting for me to give in. I did not. In the end they left. Before walking out, my mom turned around. This is not over. Yes, it is, I replied. It is done. When they left, I sat down and waited for what I knew was coming. And of course it arrived. The following days my phone did not stop. Relatives I barely saw, people who only show up when there is gossip. First my Aunt Denise. Nicole, your mom told me about the house. How are you going to leave your parents like that? They are your family. Then my cousin Brandon. It is almost $100,000, Nicole. For you that is nothing. Then my Uncle Gary, who waited for me outside my office building when I left. I cannot believe you are leaving your parents in this situation over money. And the worst was my Aunt Phyllis, who showed up at my condo with a Bible under her arm. Little girl, we must honor our father and mother. I listened to her with the same calm I had when I hung up on my mom that morning. If it is so important, Aunt Phyllis, you help them, gather money for them, sell something for them, or take out a loan for them. If not, leave me alone. She left quickly, offended, as if I had disrespected her by not letting myself be manipulated. Over time the calls decreased. They got tired or realized it was not going to work on me anymore. A month passed without anyone looking for me. One Saturday at the grocery store, I ran into a neighbor of my parents, a woman who has known me since I was a little girl. One of those women who always greet you as if no time had passed. Nicole, she said to me, I heard about your parents' house. I braced myself for another scolding, but no. Well, look, she continued. They sold the car and adjusted their expenses, and for the rest they took out a bank loan to cover it. I just stared at her. They already fixed it? Yes, she said. They already did the reinforcement, it is stable now. I felt something strange, a mix of relief and anger, because there was the crystal clear truth. They could do it, they just did not want to sacrifice anything. The woman lowered her voice as if entrusting me with a secret. Mind you, they are very angry. They say you abandoned them when they needed you most. I nodded slowly. They are going to be paying off that loan for years, she added. That is what loans are for, I replied. I finished my shopping and drove to my condo thinking about everything. They found a way. They sold things, adjusted their budget, and asked for a loan. They did what I told them from the beginning. They never truly needed me. They just wanted me to pay so they would not have to sacrifice anything. I do not feel guilty. They made their decision the day they laughed at me on Christmas. That day they made my place in their lives clear. I made mine. I no longer speak to them, not to my parents, not to Rachel, nor to the relatives who call to pressure me. My phone is finally at peace. My bank account grows, my plans are my own. And most importantly, my life no longer revolves around anyone else's invented emergencies. I have friends who love me for who I am, not for what I can pay for. I have work, I have peace, I have a future. And for the first time in many years, I feel that in my house, in my very own house, I can finally truly breathe. Comment. This story really stayed with me. Setting healthy boundaries is one of the most loving things you can do for yourself. You don't have to keep giving endlessly just because family expects it. Choosing your peace isn't selfish. It's necessary. Real respect in any relationship goes both ways. Healing begins when we learn to value our own well-being. I hope this encourages you to think about where you might need stronger boundaries in your life. Taking responsibility for your own happiness can be incredibly freeing. Remember, you are worthy of calm, respect, and and a life that feels good to you. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.